everyone, I'm Dr. Gettings and welcome to Free Your Mind Friday. I'm coming to you this week with another healthy message that I hope you will share with loved ones and other members of your community. So we've covered a lot of information this year, and now that we're in the month of June, we've really been focusing our attention on emotional intelligence and awareness of issues that relate to children, adolescents, and their mental health. So I'm a board certified psychiatrist, and I like to make sure that everyone understands what the role of a psychiatrist is. So when you go to medical school and you're trained to be a physician, we are given many options of specialties to specialize in and treat patients. So obviously there's internal medicine, there's neurology, gastroenterology, pediatrics, obstetrics, and gynecology. And I chose psychiatry as my area of specialty. Why? Because I love the brain. And I also love to connect with people on an emotional level. And I have an innate sense of understanding that how we're functioning as emotional beings highly dictates how we're going to function physically. So that being said, this is my passion. This is the area of study that I really enjoy not only learning more about as a professional, but also coming to you every week as a community and educating you as well. I believe that with knowledge, we can always do better. So it's important to teach everyone some of the things that you may not come across just in your everyday to day. So obviously as a physician, I'm trained, to treat different illnesses, diseases, and when it comes to the mind and the brain, there are lots of diseases that can interfere with our overall level of functioning. Some of those diseases only affect individuals who are older, but there are other diseases that affect our youth. And so obviously, as a psychiatrist, the one way in which our patients may be lost is suicide. So I want to talk about suicide a little bit because we don't hear about suicide that often. One of the reasons why I think the media is reluctant to inform us as to just how often suicide occurs in the United States of America is because there have been studies that have shown that the more you talk about suicide, the more you may increase the risk of an individual actually committing suicide. So media obviously is a very important tool, and we have to be cautious as to what we put out there. But I'm here to let everyone know that although every day on the news you're hearing stories about murders, our number one enemy in this country is us. That's right, you heard it here. Suicide occurs more often in the United States than homicide. That is a known fact that most people are not aware of. For every 2 murders that you hear about, 3 people actually ended their own life. The use of firearms when it comes to ending lives is used more commonly in suicide than homicide. Now, of course, when it comes to those types of statistics, you have to look at the breakdown in terms of age, in terms of race, in terms of gender. So, as a whole, suicide takes the life of more Americans every year than murder. Actually, every year on average, about anywhere from 45 to 47,000 people end their own lives. In addition to that, every year, as it's reported by the Center of Disease Control, about 500,000 people in one way or another attempt suicide. And even furthermore, over 1 million people every year engage in self-harming behavior. So if we look at this statistic, you have to ask, what is causing this? And what are the risk factors that we need to be aware of in order to help change this epidemic and look at these numbers? So as a child and adolescent psychiatrist, obviously I work a lot with our youth, and I try to educate parents about looking for the signs that may show them that their child is not in the best state emotionally. Obviously there are some common risk factors that are common sense to all of us, like depression, anxiety, bullying, substance abuse, financial stressors, discord in the home, domestic violence. These are all risk factors that may lead to a child or an adolescent ending their own life. So I want to equip parents, teachers, counselors, preachers, clergymen, anyone who regularly involves themselves with our youth as to these risk factors that we need to look out for, and some of the behaviors that we also need to have our antennas up for when we're working with our youth. Now, some children will actually express to you that they're thinking of ending their life, and some won't. So there's a variety of ways that it can present itself. So we all have to just have a keen sense of awareness and make sure that we're regularly checking in with our children. Another fact that I want people to understand is that males actually complete suicide way more than females. As women, we tend to attempt suicide more through the method of overdose. However, men tend to complete suicide, I believe, at a rate of about 3 times more than women, because their 2 top methods of ending their life is by firearm and also by asphyxiation or strangulation. So I want us to be aware of these trends and these statistics, because even though we watch the news every day and we're put on high alert about crime and situations that our children may find themselves in that may lead to their premature death, we also have to be aware that our children and their emotional state, if it's not in a good place, can be a risk to their life as well. I want to make sure that parents understand that for our young women, again, medication overdose, substance abuse is a huge risk factor. So in your home, if you have a teenager, make sure that your medications, things that they have access to that they could potentially self-harm themselves with, are in a secure place. It shouldn't just be out. Unfortunately, I see a lot of families where children are taking medication for any number of reasons, and parents don't even supervise the administering of this medication. That's not safe, that's not healthy, that's not wise. The other thing that I want to let you all know, obviously there have been laws passed for conceal and carry. More and more members of our society are carrying firearms. We want to make sure that these firearms are secure in our homes, because again, adolescence is a very, how do I want to put it? Adolescence is a period of what I call brain construction. The human mind goes through so many different changes on a hormonal level, on a structural level, on a neurochemical level. And for a child to progress from childhood to adulthood, they're going through this stage where they are more prone to high-risk behaviors, impulsive behaviors. So think about it like this. Children are navigating their way through self-awareness and self-image, and they're also navigating their way through relationships. One of the risk factors that I see a lot in the clinic that may lead to self-harming behavior, suicide attempts, or completed suicide is a failed relationship, especially in those high school years. You want to check in with your child, make sure that you're helping them navigate their way through any relationship that they may be involved in, whether it be a peer relationship or a romantic relationship, because when those relationships don't go as expected, a lot of times, because the adolescent brain is more wired to be impulsive, they may act on a situation that obviously is not going to mean much in the long run, but in that moment it feels like a life-ending situation. So I want to share this last story just to really drive this point home. As a psychiatrist, obviously, unfortunately, I've seen individuals take their own lives for a number of reasons. But the first time I ever witnessed a suicide, I myself was in high school. And a young man killed himself with a firearm in his own home. And the antecedent for that event was a breakup. So I want to just encourage parents, be more involved with your children. Be more involved with your teenagers. Last week we talked about social media and some of its potential negative influences. If we do our jobs as parents, if we check in with our children regularly, if we have conversations with them on a daily basis, asking them how they're doing, what are some of their struggles, what may they be dealing with emotionally, we can help bring some of these numbers down. There's no reason that over 40,000 people a year should lose their life to themselves. It just doesn't make sense. So if we ourselves as responsible adults, I know we've got a lot on our plate, we work long hours, we're involved in different things, but we can't let our children's emotional health go to the wayside. I want you to join me every week for another healthy message. I'm here every week for Free Your Mind Friday, and you can also follow me on social media, Natasha T. Gettings MD on Instagram, Twitter, and my Facebook page. I also have a website, clarionconscience.com. I provide tools for parents and our youth in order to educate themselves about how to raise your emotional intelligence, how to have safe practices when it comes to using social media. You don't have to live in ignorance. These tools are out there. I'm bringing them to you, and I want you to continue to join me every week. Please make sure you share this healthy message. Suicide can be prevented, and it's our job to help our children make sure that they are not experiencing these risk factors. I'll see you here next week. Thank you, and be well.